You are listening to the Launch Over podcast on the Without Your Head Network. Hello, and welcome to the Launch Over podcast on the Without Your Head Network. This is episode 10. I'm Sophia Cacciola.
And I am Michael J. Epstein, and we're here with our third host, King Ghidorah the Dog, who is currently under a blanket.
Licking himself.
We don't want to look.
That's his private office, so he can do whatever he wants in there.
And our special guest this week
is Stephen Stull from Florida.
In Florida.
In Florida.
In Florida.
Okay, better. Yeah.
He's from the world of great filmmaking.
Well, here, I mentioned
and film
Florida
festival.
because Stephen runs a Florida film festival called the Sick and Wrong Film Festival, which is an awesome fest for weirdos, which are our favorite people.
We are weirdos.
That's a plus.
We like weirdos.
Yeah. It's not a very negative, but it's actually like a very positive.
And we're a very weirdo positive festival.
It is. And we're going to talk to Stephen about that festival and about a special film competition that he is running called the Debacle.
Yes. Coming up in just a few weeks.
And we're going to give little hints at a project that we are collaborating on right now. We can't say too much. But if you want to hear all that,
you got to stick around.
You got to stick around.
All right. So it's been a few weeks since we've talked. So we've watched a ton of stuff and we're not going to cover it all today, but we're going to cover some of it. I think I mentioned last week that I've been obsessed with watching like ridiculous 80s sci-fi action movies.
Yeah, we had watched Runaway and Terminator.
Yep. And so...
Runaway, the Mechanical Spider movie?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
Is there another Runaway?
I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure.
That's the best Runaway.
That is the Runaway.
We talked. Absolutely. I mean, just to recap, we talked a lot about Gene Simmons as a villain in 80s movies. Because honestly, like, I'm not a Kiss fan. I don't like Kiss. No. But I am a fan of Gene Simmons overacting as like a ridiculous villain in movies like Runaway and Never Too Young to Die. But that's a whole.
Listen, we already talked about that.
I'm sorry. That's why I wasn't on the list. Okay, I'm sorry.
But that was a segue into like the fact that like now Amazon just suggests ridiculous 80s movies to me. I'm always like, yes, show it to me. So we watched Blue Thunder with Roy Scheider and
Malcolm McDowell.
Yes, that's true. It was very young young looking Malcolm McDowell.
Medium
aged. Yeah. So it's an interesting movie because it's very anti-police corruption, and there's like a cover up, and he steals a helicopter, and the helicopter chops a cop car in half on the highway. It's amazing.
A lot of exciting stuff happens.
Yeah, it's a great action movie. And a rogue cop.
Roy Scheider and his partner, Daniel Stern, of Wonder Years / Home Alone / everything fame. Yeah, so I when he came on in the beginning, he had no beard. And I'm like, who is this guy? He's so familiar. And I'm looking and I'm listening
he
and
was
finally
really young,
figured out. Young Daniel Stern.
Yeah, and they kept making like 80s jokes about, I don't know, looking like they would take the police, like the LA copter, and try to spy on this woman that does like naked yoga every night at exactly 10:30 p.m. Like that's like the opening to the movie. I'm like, this is so 80s and stupid.
They definitely pushed the limits of the graphic.
They really wanted to show this woman stretching. Yeah. So that aside, it gets pretty deep as far as the cops go.
The only thing I remember from that movie was the 15-second test thing that Roy Scheider does, where like. He read somewhere, like his character read somewhere that like you're officially old when you can't tell you can't determine 15 seconds with your eyes closed. Okay, so he's been like closing his eyes and running 15 seconds on his watch. And I remember that from whenever I watched this 30 million years ago. And I've never done the test because I'm afraid that find out that I'm like old and I can't figure out 15 seconds with my eyes closed.
Interesting. Okay, so I know he was doing that and he had a special stopwatch and they made fun of him, but I had no idea why he was doing it. I thought it was like a meditation thing because he was like, it's like another one of those movies where he served a NAM, which is like every 80s movie is like somebody had been in NAM. So I thought it was just some like weird meditation thing to clear his mind. So thank you for enlightening me on what he was doing with his stopwatch.
But yeah, pretty cool movie.
So then on another Roy movie, we watched 2010, which we had never attempted because we heard it was bad.
This was a very formative movie. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up.
No. That was
I mean, obviously it's not 2001, which is like a stone cold classic, but I loved it. They live in a house with dolphins that are like in the house with them. Like, I don't know if that's a Florida thing, if you have that in your house.
Everybody in Florida has dolphins in their house. Yeah.
That happened at JPL. That happened at JPL though.
Is it California? What?
Yeah.
I just assumed it was Florida.
No. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't remember where 2010 took place, but in real life, the researchers living in a house with dolphins was out at JPL out in California.
Yeah,
we've been there.
Yeah. Well,
did
we've
you
been
see the
to
dolphins?
like a building because most
No,
of
we
it's
went
classified.
we saw our friend
We
took
saw
us
what
on
they
a tour.
wanted us to see.
Yeah, we have a friend who works there, and he took us on a tour.
was
We got
pretty
to see the
sweet.
Mars lander that's going up this year.
Is it the same one that Mike Pence touched?
I don't know. Yeah, the don't touch the Mars lander.
They were
Do not touch.
Yeah, we couldn't get within 100 miles of that lander, and like everybody around it was in full PPE. like,
Well, it's dust. You know, it's dust protection.
in like
yeah.
their special room, we were like looking at them through glass, like they were in an aquarium. It was pretty cool. But yeah, and then Mike Pence just like rubs his saliva on it for Mars. God probably told him to do that so he could populate Mars with his DNA.
It's an interesting theory. There were no dolphins there, though. The part of JPL we saw had no dolphins.
But 2010 was pretty sweet. Like they go into space and they find hell again, which the hell might come up later. I'm not sure.
Could come up later.
Could come up later.
Yeah, and there's like a whole like they have to hitch a ride with the Russians, and then like there's stuff going on Earth with the Russians. There's all this drama.
Well, it's a very Cold War movie. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a really, that era, everything was, all the sci-fi movies were basically just like Cold War metaphor and Cold War discussion and about humanity working together to face some other adversity that wasn't the Cold War and so on.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I pretty much have a soft spot for anything in space. So it doesn't take much for me to be like, I love this movie.
Yeah, and I think if you ignore that it has anything to do with 2001, it's great.
Well, I mean, Dave shows up.
No, I mean, it
that's
literally
there.
does, but I'm saying if you ignore it from a
I mean, how could you make a real sequel to? I mean, come on, like there's no sequel. They covered everything. And
all the way through the life cycle.
It really did.
So why was it a formative film for you?
Okay. So I actually saw 2010 before I saw 2001. I saw this as like a 12, 13-year-old. It was one of the, I don't know where we got them. I don't know how they wound up in the house, but we were early adopters and we had a VHS player and a beta player from when I was a young kid. And we just had these stacks of dubbed movies and I don't know where they came from, but 2010 was one of them. And I shouldn't call it 2010. I should call it 2010. Anyway, I watched that one like a million times and it's a pretty straightforward science fiction movie.
Right.
And so when we wound up with a copy, again, a dubbed like beta copy of 2001, I decided to give it a watch and I popped it in. And this is one of the most shameful moments from my film nerd history. I watched it or I started watching it and then like I watched about 20 minutes of it and I'm like, what the fuck is with all these ape men and stuff? What is this shit? This is supposed to be a science fiction movie. Where's the spaceship? And I just popped it out and I didn't go back to it for like 15 more years.
I have the same exact story because I've always been a sci-fi nerd, like ever since I was like 7 years old. And I tried to watch 2001 like 3 or 4 times, like in junior high and high school. Like I kept trying because I knew it was a classic and I would always fall asleep and then end up returning it. And so I like finally saw it as an adult and loved it finally. But like I had to like, because it's so slow. It's painfully slow. And like now I respect that. But like as a kid, it would just put me to sleep.
We've also, I mean, I think it's a big difference because we've seen, the first time I saw it was on TV with like commercial breaks and it was on, which I liked it still a lot. But then seeing it, you know, we've seen it now in 65 millimeter a bunch of times and like giant screens. And that's just like a completely different experience. It's so immersive as a film that I think it's hard, you know, it's a hard film to like watch at home if you have other distractions or anything like that. Yeah,
that's like, I talk about this. I've said this a bunch of times to people and I'm sure I've said it to the two of you in like personal space. So sorry for repeating myself, but like, if you ask me what I think, you know, what my favorite movie is, I feel like that's a question with a couple different interpretations. If you ask me what the movie I've seen that I think is probably the best movie I've ever seen, I'll probably say 2001. But if you ask me, what do you want to watch right now? I'll probably say RoboCop.
Right.
Like 2001 is a commitment movie. You have to be ready and prepared to watch that movie for 3 hours. You know?
Absolutely.
Yes. It's like Lawrence of Arabia. Like if they're going to show it in 65 millimeter at theater, like I'm there. You know?
Yeah.
But at home, maybe less so.
Yeah, but RoboCop definitely anytime.
Right.
Literally anytime from literally any point. I'm with you right there. I agree with that RoboCop assessment.
So then another like sore point in our relationship was that Mike had never seen Memento.
It was actually, it became a game because I was like, nobody has spoiled Memento for me. And I actually thought there was like a big reveal at the end, but it turns out the movie was actually absolutely nothing like what I expected it to be like. And
he was dead the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was dead the whole time. Exactly.
I didn't expect it to hold up at all.
Oh, yeah.
I remember liking it a lot when it came out. I thought it would not hold up, and it held up pretty well. We rewatched it because I wanted Michael to write a script like very Polaroid heavy because I'm obsessed with Polaroids, and then I was like, well, now we have to watch Memento. We've had like the DVD forever. I think we actually sold the DVD.
Yeah, we did.
At some point, we had it for like 10 years, sold it, and then like finally got around to watching Memento. Did you like it?
I liked it. Yeah, okay, I liked it a lot. It was absolutely nothing like what I expected. Nobody really could have spoiled it for me, even if they had told me. There's nothing. Like I thought it was a twist.
What are they going to tell you?
No, exactly.
What are they going to tell you? Like, oh, he doesn't remember stuff.
Yeah,
really?
Right. The plot is actually not the important part. It's like the whole. No, I totally misunderstood what the movie was. So I liked it. I don't really have anything.
I just had to look up who the guy was because I always forget. But it's Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce.
He's really great in it.
I like Joey Pants in that one. I think that's one of his. Joey Pantoliano, sorry.
Okay,
buddies call him Joey Pants. That's
right.
what we...
You Teddy. Yeah. The main other guy,
Main other guy.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, so, I don't know.
Did you ever see The Time Machine with Guy Pearce?
No, not I.
Everybody hates that movie. I enjoyed it. That's all I got.
Hot take.
That's all I got. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say The Time Machine, Guy Pearce. Not a bad movie. Maybe not the greatest movie ever made. Not a bad movie.
You heard him here, folks. Michael J. Epstein, quote, Time Machine, best achievement in human cinema ever.
They can put it on the Criterion release of it.
Wow. We also, I love Claire Foy from The Crown. So we watched Unsane, which is so, I often enjoy Soderbergh movies, despite themselves. I did not enjoy Unsane at all.
You did not enjoy Unsane, huh?
I mean, he shot at an iPhone. It looks like it's shot on an iPhone. It looks like garbage. I actually think I might have liked it more if it was good cinematography. But
you're a camera nerd. You're an unabashed camera nerd, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm a big nerd about cameras. But I can if somebody's trying something, I'm for it. But I also always look at these movies shot on the iPhone as just Apple gave them some money. And so it's like an underhanded marketing campaign.
It almost certainly was funded by Apple. I mean, they don't say these kind of things, but almost certainly there was money given by Apple.
That was the whole ad campaign about that movie. Was it shot in the iPhone?
Yeah, they did the same thing with Tangerine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes a big deal. It's not just, hey, look at this great movie somebody made. It's, hey, look at this great movie somebody made, and they shot it on iPhones.
Right. Yeah. And then Apple's putting money into marketing that and.
Well, it's aggravating too because I watched interviews with Soderbergh where he's like, I love just sitting in a wheelchair and being pushed around with the camera and having small camera gear, and I'm like, I totally appreciate that, but there's so many small cameras that are actually good now. Get a Blackmagic and go for it. It doesn't have to be a shitty iPhone.
And Soderbergh is a good cinematographer, so in addition to directing,
usually,
so he has the talent. It's not,
right. This was garbage.
Crap! Do you remember his pseudonym for cinematography? Because he was
he uses different names for everything.
Know this.
Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
I don't know.
I watched Unsane and I found it very affecting. I don't know how confessional and vulnerable this podcast tends to get, but
we're getting.
There was a day, probably the worst day of my life, when I wound up for various reasons that I will leave to your imagination, in group therapy for one morning, and it was therapy for people who were very clearly you could look around and see, oh, there are no shoelaces in this room, and that kind of thing, you know?
Right.
And it was, I knew from the instant I stepped in the room, I didn't belong there. And when it was over 2 hours later and I went and talked to the psychiatrist, he knew instantly that I didn't belong there either, but I had wound up there. And anyway, my point is, I was sitting there among these people knowing I didn't belong there, and it was miserable. I felt like I every moment of that was just excruciating. And so when I watched Unsane, it's about a woman in a mental institution who doesn't really belong there, and I don't know, I felt very caught up. It evoked a large reaction out of me.
Okay, that part actually was pretty affecting. Like just being thrown in. I agree with you on that. Like all the institutional stuff was good. It was really when it got into the stalker stuff. All the stalking. I like that guy. Everything about that storyline, I hated. I thought it was just bad writing. And was just stupid. But you're right. Like everything about getting stuck in the institution and like she didn't actually belong there totally.
It's a great concept, and the other character who's there is great. Like there are a lot of really great B storylines.
Right? Who's in there? Yeah.
There are a lot of like multiple
the other stuff like that could have been the movie 100% rather than this other storyline of the stalker,
which just felt like a lame dude
movie.
It.
Yeah, it just felt like a dude wrote this that I don't like.
Yeah, I see that. I definitely see that. I think I just kind of coasted. I think I was, by the time the stalker stuff hit, I was sort of coasting through, trying to like regather myself sitting in the theater watching it. But
would you feel you liked it even more if the cinematography was good? Like if it had good lighting.
If it had some good lighting in there.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
I'm thinking maybe if they'd gone with like, if they just like filmed the whole thing on VHS cameras or something.
That'd be better. I would rather watch VHS. I really would. Because that has nostalgia, you know.
What about SVHS? Get some old like, or VHS-C, that's what it was.
I remember
the format.
That.
Yeah. Oof. Anyway, I'm sure it would have been.
It didn't. It just didn't sell.
It didn't stick its landing for us.
Yeah.
But speaking of Soderbergh, in a roundabout way, he made a movie. Okay. Since the pandemic, I've been enjoying watching pandemic movies.
Yeah.
And so I had watched Contagion a while ago, which leads me into, which I enjoyed. Very much exactly what we're living. But I watched this movie called Virus, which is the guy who did Battle Royale, right?
Yep.
Okay.
His name is Kinji Fukusaka. But it's from 1980. And so I'm just going to say don't watch it on Amazon Prime because it's a really bad quality upload.
It's also 4:3. There's a few things.
It's 4:3 and it cut out like all the Japanese storyline.
Let's uncomplicate the complication, which is that the movie was made as like a multi-country production. And the original cut of it is like almost 3 hours.
Did I say the title? The title is Virus.
The title is Virus.
Yes.
Okay.
The American release, like the studio hated it, who was dealing with it in the U.S., and they cut it down to like an hour and 40 minutes and released it in the U.S. And the version that's on Prime now is like, it looks like a VHS rip or something. Like, you know, it's you can barely see what's going on. It's 4:3. It's missing all of the story, all that. But on Tubi.
On Tubi has, I think
it is the
real version.
Yeah. The real, really? Wow.
And actually, it's like kind of annoying because like there's title cards that come up in Japanese that aren't translated. So like definitely I missed some expository stuff in there, but it's definitely by far that's the version you need to see. But it's like 3 hours. It feels like a mini series or something. It follows so many. Okay, so like a virus hits and like wipes out people and animals, right?
Yeah, it kills all living
like
things.
Everywhere, except for it can't survive in sub-zero temperatures. So the base on Antarctica is safe.
Oh, okay.
So there's like a couple hundred people there and only 8 women, which is... That whole part with the 8 women was really bothered me, but about how they decided they were going to repopulate.
Oh God!
As you can imagine,
it's, you know, in a way, it's like a
like George Kennedy shows up and he's like, "All of you women are wombs now." I'm like, "Great, thanks, George Kennedy."
Jesus.
Anyway, but it kind of follows different groups, and like there's like some British guys on a submarine that show up, and they're fine because they've been in the sub for so long. So, and it kind of follows this one Japanese guy through most of it. But it's really good. Like it was really affecting. I wanted to say Contagion because it was like Contagion and Threads, that British TV, like everything's destroyed movie. And this movie got really dark.
Yeah.
Like as it goes on, it just gets worse and worse. So
and it's not a well-known movie. It was it was a financial failure, like a really bad financial failure.
George Kennedy, when did it come out?
Okay, the cast is insane. It has Olivia, not Olivia. What's her name?
Olivia Hussey.
Olivia Hussey, yeah.
One of my favorite actors, Olivia Hussey.
Yeah.
Virus.
Yeah, it has. But the thing about it is that it really does feel like a miniseries because like an hour and a half in, they introduce a whole new storyline that goes. You're like, wow, do we need another storyline? I'm not sure, but it's okay. I mean, we see the characters threaded through that new storyline.
Edward James Olmos from Battlestar.
Yep.
It's got a whole bunch of like people.
You guys are never going to give up until you make me watch something on Tubi, aren't you? I feel like that site is some kind of big trap and everybody's just conspiring to get me to go to it.
Well, I mean, if you can tolerate the ad breaks every 20 minutes or something, they do actually have a lot of stuff that's not necessarily available elsewhere. And they're actually paying filmmakers still.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, you know.
It's owned by Fox.
All right.
It's owned by Fox now. They bought it like a few months ago, basically. So it's
Wait,
not...
does Fox still...
Does Fox exist? Yeah.
Fox is...
The part of Fox that didn't go to Disney?
Well, Disney is the umbrella company, and they own Fox. Fox is its own entity still, and Fox as an entity owns Tubi. And so now it's not clear whether Tubi is going to be... So this is a little bit of a... Now we're getting sidetracked into filmmaking stuff, but there's been a really big shift in the way that film revenue works for filmmakers. And so for a while, everything was subscription based, but that has become more and more complicated. And now everybody's moving back to ads. It's a really funny phenomenon because we're all going back to like when we used to watch TV. We're like, finally, we don't have to watch ads. Now we can just watch things on, and now we're like back to ads.
We're back to that, yeah.
So like Amazon is doing their own ad AVOD. It's called ad video on demand. Yeah. And Tubi got bought by Fox, I think because Disney and Fox and all those are looking at like what is the right model for them to push movies where they're not where they can get revenue in that in that kind of realm. So I don't know. It's a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah.
A lot of
I'm sure I will definitely check it. I feel like I've avoided it so long it's kind of become a cornerstone of my personality. I'm the guy who doesn't do Tubi, you know.
That's fine.
Well,
I have to
it's funny. It comes up every episode of this, but we're the people that don't do Netflix. So you can be Tubi, we'll be Netflix. But you know, it's free because it's ad based. Yeah. There's no subscription, so it's like it doesn't hurt to have.
It's not free. You have to watch car
You have
commercials.
to watch ads. Yeah.
You have to watch terrible car commercials
and like
and Swiffer commercials.
Yeah.
Swiffer commercials.
Speaking of stuff Michael never saw in the 90s.
Which there's a lot of.
Yeah, American Psycho, which I was
2000. I think it came out in 2000.
All right, fine. I was convinced that I had seen it, but I think I had just read the book and assumed I saw it because it was not familiar to me, but we loved it. It's such a great satire.
Right there on the thread of things that were completely different than what I expected them to be like.
Yeah.
So with Memento, I loved American Psycho. I thought it's a straight comedy. I don't even know why. Like, for years I heard like, oh, it's so violent, it's so like disturbing, whatever. I'm like, no, I was laughing like start to finish. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's hilarious. Like the book. I think anytime you have an adaptation of something, there are going to be people who are mad that it's not exactly what the thing was to begin with. But like, did we need a movie that had the same kind of spirit of that book? You know, it's a pretty brutal, mean kind of book, which I enjoyed.
It is, but also the comedy is in the book also, like especially about like the music and the business cards. Like that is all very vibrant in the book and very funny. But the book definitely gets more violent than the movie. And we actually were saying like the movie could have taken a few scenes where like they kind of cut away from the violence. Like there could have been moments like where we think there could have been a little bit more violence. Like shown on screen, because almost all of it is entirely off screen.
So, you know, you run a festival called Sick and Wrong, and we're fans of that festival. And so clearly we're not the type of people who are going to be like offended by a little bit of violence in a film or a little bit of graphic content.
Well, it's funny because even at the time, people really thought it was a very violent movie, even though I feel like it's very implied for the most part.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it's great. That's not knocking the directing at all. It's directed by a woman, which I think is awesome. Mary Herron directed it because it's really funny. It's a great satire of that 80s culture.
There's I get it mixed up. I know that when Fight Club came out, Rosie O'Donnell went on her show and told everybody not to watch it and spoiled the big ending. Something similar to that happened with American Psycho. There was somebody who was very
I know people were mad about it.
People were very mad about it.
I think it was like protested by people, but it's the kind of thing where it's like
I think
they
it's more by
clearly haven't seen
reputation.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, or they don't understand it because there's nothing about that movie makes you be like, I want to go kill people. Like, I mean, I don't know what world. Even I was saying that to Sophia because I thought it was gonna be like a Taxi Driver movie. So I love Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I think Taxi Driver is an amazing movie, but like people don't get it. You know, Fight Club, people don't get it.
That's 100% true. Yeah, or at least I agree with you. And we're either it's true or we're both wrong in the same way.
Yeah, but American Psycho, like I don't know how you could watch that movie and not get that it's a joke. Like I just don't. I couldn't even figure it out. I was like, maybe no, I don't see it. Just don't see it.
He's. I don't know. I think that there's this thing that happens, and you would know more about this than I do, I think. But like when you place somebody in focus in a movie or in something like that, or in any kind of story, people are just going to automatically assume that that's the hero, right?
Right.
And that's a very, I think, unnuanced view of how art and stories work.
Right.
This is post Columbine too, because Columbine was 1999.
Okay.
This came out in 2000, and I know because I was in high school then, and there definitely was a period of time where it's like Marilyn Manson made these kids do this, and violent movies and violent video games. There's so much of that like satanic panic around like violence, right in that era, and I think that probably fed into American Psycho as well.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I mean, none of these people are watching. The fundamentalists aren't like, I'm gonna go see American Psycho and then make a judgment as to whether like I should be offended by it. Like that's not their approach.
I talked about this with our friend Kate when we were talking about Dogma. It's like there's no reason any Catholic should protest Dogma. Like there's nothing anti-Catholic in that movie. There's nothing that should make anybody mad about it. You know,
Right.
The same way. Yeah.
Let's plug Stephen's podcast.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
don't do that. We were just having a friendly conversation one day. For no particular
and you
reason.
recorded it and called it The Hold Up.
That's right.
But it's a podcast where you talk to people about a movie I'm just going to say it because I'm just going to assume I know what I'm saying.
Well, this is a real friendship test right here.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
Right?
I've already failed one friendship test today.
It's a movie that they saw a long time ago and they don't know if it holds up. And so you talk to them before you do it, before you rewatch it, and you talk about what you remember, what you think you liked about it. And then you reconvene at some later date after everybody has rewatched it and talk about that and what it made you think about and whatever.
Nailed it.
And if it holds up. See?
And I was on doing
I've never
Bill
been
and
a
Ted's-
guest.
I've been a guest at doing Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which was fun. I had a fun time. Stephen was probably like, I didn't have a fun time.
No, it was fun. It was a good rewatch. I'm glad you. I watched Excellent Adventure for that anyway, but I was glad you picked Bogus Journey because that's more. That was the far more interesting movie in my take.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, we rewatched both of them at the same time for that as well because I was curious. I wanted the context for it all. But yeah,
let's recap our entire conversation from those 3 hours that we recorded.
No, please do not. Oh my God.
But anyway, you had an episode recently talking about Dogma.
With Kate McCoid.
With our friend Kate McCoid. Yes.
So,
That was just it. Like
I haven't seen Dogma again since it came out, but I remember I disliked it. So
it's just so much talking. Dear God,
I remember there was a PJ Harvey song like while they're on the bus, and I remember that being the highlight of the movie for me.
Speaking of movies that Michael didn't see in the 90s, I'm sure it's a 2000s movie, but I didn't see it. I've never seen Dogma.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a segue.
No, I was making a joke. I was tying into your movies I haven't seen.
Couched it in sort of a segue manner. I was expecting
It actually does segue into a movie though that we had to hunt down because it's like unavailable in the US, and that movie is Strange Days, directed by Kathryn Bigelow.
I bought the UK Blu-ray release.
Yeah, because we have a fancy player that like you can quote unquote hack to play.
All right, yeah,
you got.
I know you guys hate 480p, but here's my DVD of Strange Days that I've had from back in the day.
I don't think it ever came out in the US on Blu-ray or whatever. It's hard to get. I had to buy a UK copy of it. I had not seen it before. I'd never seen it.
It is actually a very strange movie because it kind of meanders in a way that does come together at the end into like, again, police violence and corruption, which is like what we were talking about earlier. really bizarre, but like very of now, I think. Like, the cops like murder this rapper in the street and like, chaos ensues. So like that very much could be a movie that was made this year for sure.
Yeah, it definitely has a feeling.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm a big fan of, I think it's easy to take, I'm a big sci-fi nerd. I've been a sci-fi nerd a long time too. I love the big high sci-fi where you go 1,000 years in the future, or like Dune, which is like 400,000 years in the future or something like that. But I also like the sci-fi like Strange Days because it's a thing where like it's basically kind of our world just with this extra thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a lot more, I guess, realistic is what happens because, the world you live in doesn't leap forward and suddenly everybody's wearing silver spacesuits to work or whatever, right? It goes forward by these increments, and those increments have a big impact on everybody's life. And that's what I liked about Strange Days. It was basically a movie taking place when it was filmed, just like with this extra the squiddy thing.
Which is like hilarious because it records memories, but on like DV tape, like mini DV.
Right, these are like mini discs. Yeah,
it's mini disc.
Not mini DV. Yeah, mini disc.
I was telling Sophia I had a mini disc player, and she's like, "Oh, you're fancy." And I was like, "Nobody really had them. I got one, bought one off somebody, and then it broke. Like all of them like fried, and they would all have this error that was like it just said -1 on it or something on the display, and you could never get them fixed." And I was like, "Well, there go all the mini discs."
I was just laughing the whole time because he had like shoe boxes full of these mini discs that are like,
yeah.
I mean, they were pretty much antiquated, like when they came out. I feel like they never actually caught on.
No,
but that would be amazing now if somebody found those and made the memory thing, but only works
only
on this
mini discs.
Still.
But yeah, no, the sci-fi like 30 minutes into the future kind of thing is really cool. I mean, I really appreciated the movie, and I thought it's interesting seeing Kathryn Bigelow's body of work because she has so many movies about police.
Yeah,
it's like really, it's her like handling of police in different contexts is really interesting. I mean, going from Point Break and Detroit, which I don't know if you've seen Detroit.
Detroit got panned, and we loved it. It was, I thought it was amazing. But it kind of got
a complicated conversation. But.
Yeah, this is a long conversation, but got some bad press or whatever. But I think it's like definitely my recommendation is watch Detroit because it is like very scary.
When did that come out? Because I haven't.
2 years ago,
2
maybe?
years ago, yeah.
Okay.
It's complicated by the fact that she's telling a black story that probably should have been told by a black filmmaker.
Right.
But, they tried to get funding for it and had so much trouble. And then basically, once she decided to direct it, they were able to make it. And she's really a masterful director at that kind of thing. And it's essentially a home invasion horror movie.
With cops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically like, cops holding people hostage in this hotel.
Yeah.
And it's a very disturbing, very unsettling movie.
It's
like
all
really
shot
intense.
like the camera is so far away, just picking up these close-ups. So it's like it's supposed to be on like 100 millimeter plus lenses the entire time. And so it's like the actors, like it just feels like they're definitely just in it. And like and the camera's just like a fly on the wall, kind of very verite, but just really well done. Like verite by somebody who's good at it. But it was very affecting, I thought, and very scary. And it's not a horror movie, but it's more horrific than most horror movies. Yeah.
Right.
And did she direct that Jamie Lee Curtis movie? What was that? Blue Steel?
Blue Steel? I think she did, yeah.
Did you see that? Did you ever see Blue Steel?
Blue Steel?
Jamie Lee Curtis is like a cop. This is like early 90s maybe. She gets stalked by a guy.
It's, anyway, Blue Steel.
It's okay. It's not.
When you say Blue Steel, I just think of like Zoolander.
Yeah, Blue Steel. Kathryn Bigelow. And
not
Jamie
that
Lee
Blue
Curtis.
Steel.
I guess this is an audio medium, so the audience isn't going to benefit from the model look I just gave you right now. But I hope you enjoyed it, Michael.
I did very much.
Good.
So another movie, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the same director is 2010, which I think I call 2010 like a noob.
Either one's fine. 2001.
But, yeah.
I say 21. I call 2001 21.
God damn it, you stole my joke.
Oh,
fuck.
Wow.
I thought I was so witty when I was 13 and I came up with that. I'm like, we say 2010, why don't we say 21?
Yeah, well, apparently I'm still as stupid as a 13-year-old you at a much older age.
13-year-old me was pretty smart, so I mean, you should feel pretty good about it.
That's fair. Someday I'll be as smart as adult you. I doubt it. I probably won't make it there.
Let's not go overboard.
Anyway, the same director as 2010, we watched Stay Tuned, which came out in 1992. So we kind of have like a 90s vibe tonight. 1992. Peter Hyams.
John Ritter, the late John Ritter.
John Ritter is one of my favorites.
And Pam Dauber, which I can't think of any other film I've seen Pam Dauber in, but I haven't seen a lot of movies. I'm not really a movie guy, you know.
You're not into movies.
I'm not so much.
Yeah, I'm looking at her.
We saw her in an Altman movie recently, but we're going to talk about that another time.
We're saving Altman.
We're saving Altman for another time.
We watched a whole bunch of Altman movies.
Yeah,
it's because I let you down on how many I had seen. Right, it's my fault.
Yeah, but she turned up in a couple things this week, which is weird. We get these patterns of like we're watching a bunch of movies and we're like, oh, this actor, it's just a strange kind of.
We watched Three's Company like maybe a year or two ago. We just watched the whole thing, binged it, and it's a really fun watch. It still holds up, which surprised me because like just the concept of it, like he has to pretend to be gay for the homeowners, and like I was just like, this is gonna be all so offensive, but it was kind of like so loving, like the way they handled it.
There's definitely some cringe stuff in it.
For sure, it has its moment. It is the 70s. It has its moments of cringe.
It's well into the 80s too.
But like his relationship with the girls, like they're all just like good friends, like. You don't see like a lot of those relationships, I feel like, even still, like where it's just normal to be friends with girls. And,
but anyway, Stay Tuned.
Anyway, so John Ritter, that was my plug for John Ritter and Three's Company. Stay Tuned is like a kid's movie, kind of.
At some point, Sophia was like, is this movie like Terror Vision? I'm like, it's not as good as Terror Vision.
Terror Vision is amazing. It was okay. So John Ritter and his wife, Pam, was it Pam something?
Pam Dauber.
Pam Dauber.
We just
said it. They get sucked in, like the day he accidentally signs a deal with the devil and they get sucked into this TV purgatory.
Spoiler. It's not the devil.
That's like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Beelzebub. Who is it? I don't know.
It's like a demon. Yeah.
Okay.
They have competitions to steal souls by getting them into
There's so many movies where you get sucked into the TV. Yeah. It's hard to keep track.
Except this bugged me, and I hate to jump in and tromp all over. But I did. I run a podcast too called The Hold Up, and anyway, we did an episode. Never, don't worry about it. You don't have to look it up. We did an episode on Stay Tuned, and one of the things we talked about a lot was how John Ritter never actually signed anything.
He didn't.
He just wound up like...
He wanted that TV bad.
That free trial took him to hell.
It's true. That's true. That's a good point. But it does.
I came away from that movie really wanting to see like their user license and all that stuff.
That is a big plot hole because it comes up towards the end of the movie about which one actually signed the contract because his wife also got sucked in. Yeah,
and so she never. Yeah.
What a plot hole.
None of it really.
Point. I mean, this just ruined the movie.
Let's be serious here. None of the movie made sense.
It's not actually like the kids are like watching them because they go through like various and like actually all the pun TV shows are like hilarious puns. About what shows they end up on, which I can't remember any of them right now, but they're all hilarious.
There are some good gags.
Driving Over Miss Daisy was probably a sweet spot.
Solid. Yeah, there's like a Golden Girls one that was funny too.
It's second to UHF. I got to be honest. It's all second to the quality jokes of UHF, but it's all right.
I think our takeaway when we watched Stay Tuned, me and my friends Ashley and Jem, was that like it sort of disappointed me that they didn't commit to making a movie for grown-ups. Right? Like I really feel like hell is, I don't know. I feel like they didn't really make it as I don't know, aggressive as you could have gone with the whole concept of TV shows in hell. Mm-hmm. It was all very still like, sure, okay, you got this movie where there's a demon, or you got a TV show where I don't know, there's a demon running around or something like that, but it's all still kind of nice, and you can still watch it with your kids, your 10-year-olds or something like that.
Yeah, they're not like being like screaming in pain for the most part.
Right,
it's
exactly.
It's not like torture, like hell is torture.
It reminded me a little, I mean, it's a lot like the plots of the Waxwork movies. I don't know if you've seen those, but it's the same kind of idea. They're sucked into like different stories essentially. Yeah. And it's like none of the movies really does it well enough.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt. I was like, great, cool concept, kind of meh.
Exactly.
Kind of meh movie.
I think we said we would have rather watched a movie that was just a bunch of the hell shows.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, those were amazing. That was my favorite part. And at the end, like the end credits, they're just like flipping through the channels of like all the puns, and I was like, "This is great!" Like that, I love.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Anybody that doesn't know me, I like do not like stuff for kids at all. Usually.
Or the kids themselves.
Yeah, for the most part.
Sophia
yeah,
doesn't like kids. Don't
half
bring
the
your
reason
kids
I didn't
to
want to have kids is so I wouldn't have to like watch kids stuff.
But spoiler, I watch
Michael
kids
like
movies
watches
sometimes.
kids stuff.
This is not. First of all, the movie that we're going to talk about is Small Soldiers, which is not a kid movie at all.
It is.
It's not. But anyway, it's a Joe Dante movie. I think Joe Dante definitely does make like kid adventure movies.
Yeah.
On that side. It was a cool movie. I really liked it. I had heard mixed things about it, but I thought it was a really fun movie. It's really about
Kirsten Dunst.
It's about the militarization of toys and like selling basically military products.
Well, it's classic. Somebody gets like secret military chips and puts them in toys, and then they're evil.
Spoiler.
Yeah, classic.
But it was
Just
pretty
giving
good.
it all away, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We've been trying to watch all the Joe Dante movies.
Yeah,
I
we're
fan.
I will say I'm a fan of Joe Dante.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily love kids movies.
We also, anytime Joe Dante does an event here, like whenever he's speaking or anything like that, we always go. I'm like, Sophia, we're going to see Joe Dante again. And
including the last 8 months, or
no, that has not happened in the last 8 months.
We have not shown up at his house to breathe on him.
No, I tried. I did see a video interview with Joe Dante at some event. I can't even remember what it was, but yes, I saw a Zoom Joe Dante event.
Oh my God.
Joe Dante.
But no, otherwise, like he does cool things. Like he did a series here. He and this other guy had donated all of their 16 millimeter films because they're 16 millimeter film collectors, and they had donated all their films to the like UCLA archive. And so they did a screening series here at the Egyptian Theater, which we live like very close to, where they showed like really rare, obscure 16 millimeter film from that collection. And Joe Dante showed up and introduced a few of them as well. And so we went to a bunch of that. There was some really cool stuff with that.
Yes, it was.
So anyway. Joe Dante.
Okay, so this is going on way too long, but I just we've watched so much stuff. This is like a third of what we've watched recently. But I did want to mention that a couple of documentaries came out that we sort of had a hand in. One was called Direct to Video, directed by Dustin Ferguson, and that we actually helped shoot a bunch of the interviews for, including interviews with like Clint Howard and name some other
Jim
people.
Wynorski, Chuck Serino, Kelly Maroney.
Did you shoot on your cell phone?
Yes,
we did.
We shot on our iPhones. No, but it's just like a fun movie about like 90s straight to VHS, straight to video movies,
of which there were many.
Yeah, so
and we got to it was fun to actually meet a bunch of these people because they're all people who I had.
Fred Olin Ray, Tiffany Sheffis.
How can
Lloyd Kaufman. Yeah,
we plebeians in the audience.
It's on all the standard.
I think it's
platforms.
still pay for now.
Is
it's on
it
DVD.
On Tubi?
It's not on Tubi. It's on Amazon and all the others, and just came out on DVD. But
anyway,
it's
if you're
around.
a fan of those deep cut 90s movies, it's a fun listen.
Yeah.
And then we had Jason Horton on a few weeks ago, and we talked about Microbudget Marauders 2.
TOO.
TOO.
Like, look who's talking to.
Yes. It is a sequel to his first Microbudget Marauders.
And he's going to make Microbudget Marauders now.
That's next. Oh my God, I can't say Moira. It's a Moira Rose word if you watch Schitt's Creek. That would be a word that she would say. No, Michael, I had to binge Schitt's Creek by myself in the dark because Michael refused. And so that counts as something I watched. Did he turn
the lights off on you? Is that what happened?
I said you cannot use any other electricity. If you're using electricity to watch Schitt's Creek, you are allowed no other electricity.
It's true.
That's not.
I also recommend Schitt's Creek if you just want to feel happy about life. Anyway, Microbudget Marauders 2, TOO. It's a talking head doc that includes me in it.
Does your head talk? Or?
Yeah. Talking about, making micro-budget films and what it is like right now. And so I actually think it's a very interesting snapshot of like what creators are thinking in this exact moment in time of like, there's no money on Amazon Prime. Like there's all these other outlets to try to do stuff. Like, where are you getting your money from to like make your like either $5 to $50,000 movie, and I'm like, why are you bothering? So it's like everybody has different things to say about all that, and it actually was pretty interesting. I'm sorry. Do
Do you guys make movies? Are you?
I mean, allegedly. I'm not sure.
We try not to, but they keep coming.
They keep coming.
But
we accidentally making movies.
Yes, accidentally. But we had Jason Horton on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we talked about the business a lot. And I think that's a.
And he runs a great channel. I mean, he really, to me, he's
YouTube.
like the leader of people talking about how to like actually navigate the micro budget space. And he's done a bunch of really great interviews recently, including Linda Nelson from Indie Rights, a distributor. He did an interview with the CEO of Film Hub recently. And so just talking about how people are working in the spaces to make money and like what is the future of money making in micro budget film. So
and it changes every 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to keep up on.
And he follows it and does new videos weekly or so. Yeah. So anyway,
that's recommended. That's on Prime, I think. I think that's free to watch.
So that's everything we've been watching. Is there I don't know if there's anything really special to you that you've been watching that you want to talk about. If not, that's also okay.
I've been watching The Office a lot lately. Again,
keeps coming up.
It does. So many of our guests have been rewatching The Office during the pandemic. So
So in fairness, I definitely have actually been watching The Office, but I don't want to sound like a total slug in my home. The truth is that I've been watching a lot of stuff I can't talk about because I'm on a couple different festivals, screening committees, and
so you're really important, is what you're saying.
Okay, here's a question.
Super important.
Here's a question for you then, since you're doing screeners. Are festivals next year going to have good movies? Yes or no?
So
you might not be able to answer this.
Okay, how about this? I'll say this. I will say that the portion of festivals next year that have good movies is probably going to be pretty equivalent to the portion of festivals last year that had good movies.
Right, okay.
Fair, good answer.
I bring this up because so if anybody's listening, they're like, why is this even a question? It's because obviously nobody's been shooting, or very few people have been able to shoot the stuff that they wanted to shoot, including us.
It's been complicated.
It's been more complicated. And so some people might have stuff that they shot before that are just getting finished up for Fest for next year.
Right.
So there might be some of those, but...
I think that's a big concern. Actually, I think it's a very valid question because so many times the 2020, well, I guess 2020 is a bad example, but like the 2019 edition of whatever festival you're a fan of probably features almost exclusively movies made in 2018 or 2017 or something like that. Right. So I think the hit, if it's going to come, it might be. I don't know. It might be 2021 or it might be 2022 even. I don't know. I think
as far as like the glut of like not having enough movies. Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that for sure. And also, but people might be holding movies that are finished. Because if I finished a movie right now, a feature, I would hold it until festivals can happen in person again. So, it might be like, it might all work out in the end between people that held stuff and like whatever. It's an interesting space. So I guess that actually segues us right into who you are.
Well, let's take a break.
Right? So commercial break, and then we find out who Stephen Stull is.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. We don't want to know. It's sit on the edge of your seat, and we'll be right back. And now we're back.
Today we've been talking to Stephen Stull, who runs the Sick and Wrong Film Festival, the Hold Up podcast, the Debacle. What else do you run?
He runs everything. He runs the world.
I didn't really want to out myself like that on your podcast. Most people aren't supposed to know about all that extra stuff, but yeah, it's just basically those things. I occasionally make movies, but those aren't very important.
Wait, is the Jerry Show available?
It is.
The Jerry Show is available. It is. You want those? You want some nasty letters from your audience? I guess.
I definitely do. I want everybody to go watch the Jerry Show. So this is like, all right. So this brings us to like where we met, because I think that is always interesting as far as people we end up collaborating with. We met at GenreBlast.
We did GenreBlast in Winchester, Virginia.
I thought you were going to say the year, and I was like, I have no idea. 2017, maybe 2016, 2018.
2018. Definitely
18. I think 18 is right.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Yeah.
So if you listen to this podcast a lot, like we talked to Aaron Brokos, who we also met at GenreBlast. So I loved going to, it did happen in person this year, but none of us went because it's the pandemic.
Because we didn't want to die.
Yeah. So it's kind of more for locals.
Yeah,
but,
it was a little bit of us.
Yeah. So, but I highly recommend it always to everybody because it ends up being like you're just trapped. Like there's nothing in Winchester, Virginia
there
that
is
I can
nothing
figure out
Winchester,
except an Alamo Draft House and this hotel next door. So, and that's all you need for a film festival. So it feels like a summer camp for us. It's always Labor Day weekend. We love going and we love meeting people there because like everybody comes from all over the place. So that's where we met you, and you had the Jerry show.
The Jerry show.
You know, and I think like maybe I had said hi to you or something, but like I was like watching it, I was like, oh no, I hate this. I'm very offended right now. And I just sat there like very offended for like the first minute. And then like it blossomed for me to the point where like by the end I was like, I love this movie. So it was so offensive that it won me over in its offensive,ness. And it came from the right place, I think. Whereas like a different filmmaker would make it in a way that would actually offend me.
Well, I've told this story to at least to Stephen before and other public places, but we met you. I met you very briefly. I met you very, very briefly. And I was like, I heard, okay, this is the guy who runs Sick and Wrong. And I'm like, okay, he seems nice, but like this festival, just because it's called Sick and Wrong, it's going to be like an edgelord bullshit. Like, oh, you know, we're just going to like have no limits and be uncensored and fuck anybody who cares about their feeling, whatever. So that's what I kind of expected. And so,
just to clarify, every fest that says that is going to end up being a movie about rape porn or a fest for rape porn movies. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about.
It is. Yeah. That's basically it's some kind of horrible misogynistic violence, whatever it is. So anyway, that's what's in my head, you know, going in. And then your movie's coming up. I'm like, all right, I'll watch this, whatever. I'm going to, you know, we'll see what this is about.
You were there for the block anyway.
I was there. I'm there. Yeah, I'm sitting there. The movie comes on. The beginning starts. I didn't quite have as negative a reaction as Sophia did, but I was like,
literally
what is going
at these festivals, I just sit there like I'm pre-offended usually. I would say by most shorts.
You're a snowflake.
So like you have to like work to make me not offended. Yeah, I am like a feminist snowflake. So.
But no, I mean, I
am ready to cancel everybody at all times. So yeah.
as a you know, I'm Jewish. Like the Hitler, the Nazi joke things are going to be, are you know, I'm not easily offended, I would say, but like it's going to be something that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna turn my head a little bit, look at a little, you know, squinty, and so the thing starts. It starts going. How much do you want to explain this film? I guess
it's pretty funny having us explain.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't even want to try to explain what it is, except that I love it. But
when I first started talking to people about this movie, when I first like started going to festivals and stuff, people started asking me about it. I was really squirrely about the big like conceit of it, but I think after sitting with it for a couple of years now, I think it's okay to divulge that part because I don't think the movie ends up really being. Like that doesn't end up being the cornerstone of the whole movie. It's not a twist.
Yeah, it's not like
so. It's not. It comes up pretty early. The movie is about a guy, kind of a milquetoast, frayed figure who happens to have the face of Hitler growing out of his stomach and kind of abusing him and making demands of him.
Yeah. So anyway,
there's the setup.
Yeah.
So you can imagine this is a strange movie, but we love strange stuff, and I love stuff that pushes boundaries in interesting ways, like where it's like, okay, this is not something. It's not pushing boundaries like I'm going to be offensive. It's pushing boundaries like I've never seen this before. This is a different take of the. And so but the way the humor was done and the way that the characters treated and the way it all kind of
even the way he looks in the stomach is so hilarious. Yeah. It all works.
Well, I have to give quick credit because the look of Hitler, all that belongs to two people, Katie Gelhart, who did all the makeup, including life casting. The guy who played Jerry, she life casted his entire chest so she could cut a hole in it and put a fake body around the guy playing Hitler's face. And then she's fucking incredible. But also Bill Keevan, who played Hitler, is not an actor. He's just a guy I know, and I asked him if he wanted to do it. And and he was completely game. And I think his performance was mostly seated in his inability to hear me with that rig on his head.
So shouting the entire time.
I'm just screaming at his face the whole time, especially trying to get him to say the German stuff because he doesn't speak German, of course.
Anyway,
it works.
The movie is great. It's really, it's very funny. It's very clever, and it's available.
It is watchable on Amazon. It's not on Prime. It's rentable for like 99 cents or something like that.
Well, that is the best 99 cents you're going to ever spend in your life.
And then you also run the Sick and Wrong Film Festival. And I would say like that movie is like a good example of like what Sick and Wrong tries to find. And we actually watched it. So a movie we produced, Half Cocked, I talked about Aaron earlier, was at Sick and Wrong last year. And I know he went and had a great time. But we actually haven't been in person yet. We will. I will enter Florida at some point. I have not yet in my life. I've been to a lot of states. Not Florida. But Sick and Wrong is going to bring me to Florida at some point. But we got to watch it online this year. And out of all the festivals I watched online, I would say the hit rate of movies I loved was the highest at Sick and Wrong. And I'm not even saying that because I'm looking at you right now. It actually was. Like there was
It's a true story.
And I think it's because like, especially in short form, like go weird, go shock me with something. Don't try to make like a full movie like that's boring. Make like something really interesting in 5 minutes. And I feel like your fest like really found those films that are like bizarre and fun.
I agree with Sophia. The Sick and Wrong this year was just like so many films because they're surprising. The films are not like I just don't know where they're gonna go. And there are films like we love what is it called, Questions or Peanut Butter? Like
Alexandra Warwick's movie,
which is just like
seriously.
But if you ask me, if you're like, what is this movie about, or what? I don't know. It's insanity. But
one of the things I strive for, both as a filmmaker and as a programmer, is movies that have like the movies we're talking about, like my movie, The Jerry Show, and Questions or Peanut Butter. That's another good one right there. Is that these are movies that have hooks, right? Like I told you the hook about The Jerry Show. It's a guy who has Hitler growing out of his stomach, right? But they end up, and I hope, I'm going to speak on my own movie right now, which is fucking arrogant as hell, but I hope that my movie, and definitely I'm certain about it with Questions, it ends up being about more than what the hook is.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think when you have an appealing hook, there's a big temptation to kind of, I don't want to say lazy, but there's a big temptation to let that be the whole movie. All right. We have this thing, whatever it is. I came up, if I'm a horror filmmaker, I come up with a killer who has a novel way to murder people. And then that can be the entirety of the movie. And I think that's not enough. I think there has to be something more to that. There has to be something, that delivers more than what you see on the movie poster,
Yeah. Well, that's why we love genre film in general, is because it's an opportunity to mask something meaningful in, something like a hook or a high concept or other things. And that's really like, I think that's the ultimate horror sci-fi kind of project, where it's like there's a surface thing that's interesting, but it's really all this metaphor and layering and subtext that make it, about something. It can be quirky and it can be funny, or it could be political. It could be
the
all
thing
kinds
that
of
I
things.
love the most about because I think like Sick and Wrong it's not a horror film festival. I feel like it's more underground, more like what it is. And to me, like what those movies are is like a different perspective on something. It's like if you can come at me with like a new voice or a different perspective or a way of thinking about something I've never seen before, because your brain just operates slightly differently than the norm, which is what a lot of these filmmakers do. I'm delighted. Like if I get something where I'm just like, wow, I never ever would have thought of that or come up with that visually. And yet it surprised me, and so therefore it delights me.
Yeah, I love being surprised. I love it so much because it's so, I think one of the things, and I was just ranting about this today because I was screening some movies where like you can tell that the filmmakers don't have a lot of resources available to them, but they're still trying to pull off, Chinatown or The Godfather or something like that. And I just want to shake them and say, guys, you don't have to do that. If you don't have a lot of money, you're making a movie with your iPhones or whatever, just make it interesting. Just make it fun to look at. You got the audience's attention for 5 minutes. Don't feel like you have to recreate War and Peace or something like that. Don't just make something that they haven't seen before, Yeah. You're right. I've gotten kind of bitter. Sick and Wrong is not a horror film festival. It's very much not a horror film festival. And I've gotten so bitter about saying that I think I give people the impression that I don't like horror movies, that I hate horror movies or something like that. And that's not the case. It's just frustrating for me to try to explain. Like you mentioned Underground. I've also heard like the phrase midnight movies. If somebody hasn't seen one of these movies before, fest people know because they stay up all night watching whatever's playing at the fest, and we see all kinds of weird shit. But if you're talking about somebody who hasn't been to a festival before, they don't know necessarily what a midnight movie is. They're just going to assume it's going to be some kind of weird horror movie or something like that. So every day I wake up and it's basically a coin flip between whether on that day I believe that Sick and Wrong is the best possible name for the festival or whether it was the hugest mistake I ever made with the festival, But it's too late to change now.
Yeah, we've always struggled even more because we kind of make horror films or sci-fi films, and it's always been a struggle with fest because like the horror fests are often just like this isn't.
A lot of them are very narrow in their programming, and like there's not necessarily a lot of space for like weirdo satire or just like the weird movies that we make. And so like definitely like underground fests have been the ones that have embraced us more than a straight horror fest. Like those have been more like, they just want slashers or stuff, and it's like,
right.
I'm never gonna make a straight slasher, probably. Like there's gonna be something weird about it.
But that's the confusing thing to me is like you're saying. I mean, if Friday the 13th exists already, why do I need you to make a movie that's basically a Friday the 13th movie? You have nothing to say. You're just like mimicking something else that you're not going to be able to do as well, if we consider that as that kind of movie. So I mean, it's sort of strange. So I want to see something that's like, I want to see the resources used, like you're saying. I want to see those resources go into something that I've not seen. Don't try to make Avengers like with cardboard, right?
Right.
But there are great movies made with cardboard. Like there are so many great movies made with cardboard.
Yeah.
One of my favorites at Sick and Wrong this year was a movie called Pig Meats. I talk about this all the time. It was like a primitive. I mean, the animation used like one of those prefab animation. I don't know what exactly, but like it's basically like a prefab animation engine where you kind of plug in stuff. So it's not even like a newly created thing.
It's not Pixar, let's say.
The tool, but it works. And the entire movie, the whole premise of this movie is just this guy throughout his life telling the story about this woman breaking into his house and forcing him to eat bacon, and that's why he likes bacon. And he didn't like bacon before. He didn't want to eat bacon. And
this is another movie that like teetered on the edge of like, should I be offended right now? And like, I finally just gave up trying because it was so ridiculous.
It's one of my favorite movies I've seen.
Michael never stops talking about pig meats.
Yeah, we're vegans. I don't eat bacon, but the movie Pig Meats.
Well, you haven't had the right person break into your house yet.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. But like, that's not. What is that movie? Like, where does it live? Yeah. What is it? How did that idea arrive? Like, what are the tools that were used to make it? Like that. Those are all the kind of things that make that movie special. And it's not like standard filmmaking, and it's not like trying to. That person is not trying to make a film that's like, oh, I'm trying to replicate like Oscar dramas or Marvel movies or something.
Action is the worst. When people try to do action without like real cinematography or stunt coordinators or money at all, it's like it can go so badly. Yeah. Just because if you can't sell the physical punches, which like actually takes like a lot of planning to like make action look realistic, it's so bad.
But you can sell a story about a guy who throughout his life, even when he's dead, still tells this story about eating why he eats bacon.
Oh my God.
I think one of the bits of pride I have about Sick and Wrong is that it attracts movies that are made for the movie itself. I think being a screener for a bunch of different festivals, I think that there's there are a couple of different, I don't want to say mistakes. Everybody gets to live their own life. Everybody gets to decide how their career is going to go or whatever. But I see tons and tons and tons of film submissions that are labeled as short films, but are really like either proofs of concept for a feature film or basically demo reels, And I think there's like, go ahead, make that thing. I think it should exist. If you want to, you want to be an animator and you make whatever it is. If you're trying to, if your goal is to get people's interest into turning your short concept into developing it into a feature, something like that, go ahead and shoot that thing. But I mean, maybe throw it on YouTube and share the link with everybody in the world. Maybe don't submit it to festivals so much. And one of the things about Sick and Wrong is that I think it really attracts, because these are movies, you guys saw them. These are movies that won't get developed into features. These are movies that won't get anybody a job anywhere.
I mean, I feel like we're lucky we don't have any money. Otherwise, Michael would send all his money to the Pygmies guy.
I think we need the feature film version of Pygmies. No, we do. I mean, we don't. But that's if I see a short film that I think we need a feature version of, this is, maybe people are going to get offended by this. If I see a short film and I'm like, oh, we need a feature version of that, then that's a shitty short film because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work as a short.
If you can tell your story in 5 or 10 minutes, that's the story. You're done.
Yeah, that's it. It's either to me, it really has to be one or the other. And I'm trying to think of any examples. There are very, very few. I can think of like maybe 2 or 3 movies that were shorts that were turned into features that I think like really it worked in both that were uniquely like the two were uniquely told so that each one functioned in its own way that was good. Like that was, but they're independent. They're very independent. It's not stretching one or shrinking one. It's really just telling a different story in that world or with that general, storyline or theme or something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, and there certainly aren't, like, the successes are not so numerous that it's easy for any of us to just pull out a couple examples right there, Yeah. I think that this is something I started, because when I was young, when I first, like, started college or when I was in high school, I wanted to be a writer, and you learn, hopefully you learn that every form has a certain, like, usefulness to it, right? Like there's a story that can only be a poem, or a story that can only be a short story, or a story that can only be a novel or a play or whatever like that. And you have to kind of know what that is. And I feel for some reason that message is not clear to a lot of filmmakers. I think part of it, and we talked about this before, is that there's a rampant misconception out there among young independent filmmakers that making shorts leads to careers. Right, that making shorts leads to making features. That's how it works. Because you can look at, like, there are filmmakers who are making big movies for, I don't know, A24 or whatever right now, and you can look at their IMDb's and it's like short feature, and you're like, oh, there's so many examples of this. You can say, oh, that's how it works. I make 3 shorts and then I get the feature. And so their eyes, I think the filmmakers, their minds are set on that end goal. And so when they're working on a short, they're working on, okay, well, what piece of my feature would stand okay on its own, or something like that. And I don't want that. I want somebody to make a short that has to be a short. You know, I've had friends who, very nice people, I've had well-meaning friends say to me, "Oh, when are you going to work on a sequel to The Jerry Show, or when are you going to write a feature of The Jerry Show?" And I'm like, it doesn't. Thank you. I appreciate your vote of confidence there, but it doesn't belong in that space. It is a short film and it's over. I don't need to go back to it.
People ask us about sequels to our features all the time.
Mostly the actors in the movies, because they want to do another movie.
Friends of ours too. I don't ever want to, unless like Hollywood gives me $100 million to make the sequel to Blood of the Tribbids. I told the story. It's done. Like, I want to tell other stuff. Like, I have lots of ideas. And I might do another vampire movie, but it's going to be different than that one.
It's going to be, yeah. There's so many, like, I got more stuff to talk about. I want to, if there's going to be a sequel, I got this little triumvirate of sequels that I like to tout. Gremlins 2, American Tail 2, Fievel Goes West, and then there's one more that I'll mention in a second. But if there's going to be a sequel to a movie, I feel like it really should jump away and bring something new. Don't just make the same. If it was you have how many sequels to slasher movies are the same slasher movie over again?
Yes. All of Friday the 13th, right?
Until it got fun, right?
Yeah. Until Jason X.
Until Jason X. I think, and I'm gonna plant a flag right here, and maybe I'll cave later under pressure, but I'm going to plant a flag right now and say that my favorite sequel movie period ever that has ever existed is a movie called Uncle Kent 2. It was, you guys know about this?
Know it.
There was a movie called Uncle Kent. It was a mumblecore movie by Joe Swanberg. And it may be a fine movie. I never actually saw it. It doesn't matter. But this filmmaker, Todd Rowe Hall, who is fucking incredible. I love this guy. He got it in his head to make a sequel, and it has, first of all, absolutely zero to do with the first movie, even though it still stars the same star. And I shouldn't even have brought this up. Go watch Uncle Kent 2 is my point. Everybody go watch. It doesn't matter what Uncle Kent was. It doesn't matter. You don't need to see that. All you need to see is Uncle Kent 2. It is the best sequel that has ever been made, period.
I'll take it. We have a running joke. We have a running joke that I bring up Gremlins 2 on every episode, and I hadn't done it yet. So I did it. I even mentioned Joe Dante, and we didn't bring up Gremlins 2. It was like I was like, oh man, I'm really sweating.
I'm in the clear.
So I appreciate your work there to talk about Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 is one of my favorite movies ever, and I like Gremlins. Fine, Gremlins is a great movie, but I like Gremlins 2 more. I think it's an example where they were given the opportunity to do something, and he just is like, I'm gonna do like exactly what I want, maybe what I wanted in the first place with the first one, kind of to a degree. And so you see it doesn't feel like a rehash at all.
Right.
And that's an
An
important
expansion,
thing.
yeah.
I wonder like how often, I see a movie like Gremlins 2, and I don't know who was behind 5 Goes West, but that movie's bonkers. I love it so much. But I feel like so rarely do people with these kind of mindsets get taken off the leash, right? That's what happens with Gremlins 2. They said, okay, Gremlins worked, made us a lot of money, whatever. Go make whatever you want to make. You're free. And I think that I speculate that maybe there's this little voice at the back of Joe Dante's head that says, this is the only fucking time you're ever going to get this chance. So throw it all in there, let's kitchen sink this shit. And I love that kind of like wild desperation, where you can just put every idea you have out on the screen.
It's his blank check movie. They call it the blank check movie.
Blank check movie. Yeah.
You've seen the Key and Peele sketch about Gremlins 2?
Oh my God.
No, I haven't gotten to it yet. We haven't finished the series.
Oh, there's a Key and Peele sketch where basically they just have like a board. I'm going to not spoil it too much, but they have a board meeting about like what it was going to be in Gremlins 2. And it's like designed by committee. And they're like, who has ideas for Gremlins? And they just keep spouting off crazier and crazier shit. He's like, it's in the movie. It's in the movie. It's in the movie. Like,
in the movie.
They're just saying yes to everything. They're basically like, yeah, everything, yes. Like, which is
that's pretty plausible.
What the movie is. Yeah, I mean that's the gag, but yeah. So yeah, that Gremlins 2 is definitely a great classic. So speaking of
very sidetracked.
Great classics, I hear there's an event that you're putting on that will allow people to make great classics in just three days.
Event. I don't know. Should I like set it up or just do the plug?
Whatever, give it all. Give it
all. I'll just tell it. Okay, so Sick and Wrong did go online this year, and I think that the online version of the festival was successful. I think it was very pleasurable for me just to be able, at the very least, to interact with a lot of filmmakers I wouldn't have had the chance to if we'd been live because they couldn't travel to Orlando, So that's a big thing, and I like being able to spread the word. I learned a lot from the festival, but of course I want to go live next year. Like I want the fest to be live. I think that's the best thing. Even I'm going to try to incorporate online stuff. Anyway, my point is that the next Sick and Wrong Film Festival isn't going to take place. I've decided to push it out to give the most possible time for things to be safe. I pushed Sick and Wrong 2021 out to December. So that's not going to happen until December of next year. But I am selfish and I get bored really easy, and I didn't want to wait more than a year to start seeing Sick and Wrong things and working with filmmakers and things like that. So I came up with this idea. It's a totally new, I don't think it's ever been done before. I'm going to ask people to make a movie in a limited period of time.
I never heard of that. Yeah.
Never heard of that. Right. Yeah. See,
original concept.
No. I created the Sick and Wrong 72-hour film debacle. It is a timed film challenge. Everybody knows it's like a 48-hour film festival or something like that. Except it's only I'm giving
totally
everybody
different because it's 72 hours.
It's 72, right? It's completely different. It's like a brand new thing. I filed a patent. We'll see how far that that application goes. So what's going to make this different? It's hard to say. People who have worked in 48-hour film projects before know how it works. Generally, there's a kickoff event where they tell you what genre you're going to make. They're going to tell you what kind of prop you have to use. They're going to tell you a line of dialogue that you have to include in the movie. And that's fine. I know my tone makes it sound like I'm bashing on that, but that's fine. The debacle is going to be a little different. I want people to be able to make any kind of movie they want to make. I want them to, so I'm not going to tell them a genre. Instead, I'm going to tell them a mood. I'm going to randomly assign them a mood. And then instead of props or names or dialogue, whatever, I'm going to give everybody, I'm going to randomly assign a plot element, something that just has to happen in the story. It doesn't have to be central to it necessarily. It just has to happen in the story. The big thing that's different though, is that you can see it all now. I'm not sitting on these prompts. I'm not saving them for the kickoff event. Like, if you want to know whether the Sick and Wrong debacle is something you're going to be into, all you have to do is look at our social media and you'll take a look at that list and you'll immediately know as soon as you see this list of moods, for instance, whether you want to be a part of this, right? Because instead of telling you, oh, you have to make a comedy or you have to make a romance movie or you have to make a horror movie, I'm going to tell you, you have to make an anxious movie, or you have to make a horny movie, or you have to make a nihilistic movie, right? Those are the moods. Those are the kind of moods we're looking at. But yeah, I just want, it's open to filmmakers everywhere, all over the planet, because all the events are going to be virtual. We're not going to do anything in person. That's the whole point why this exists, right?
And we've signed up. So if you sign up, you are competing with us.
Directly.
You will be, yes. And there is a competition. I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things I'm proudest about is I found there's an artist named Dane Marks who is he calls himself a bootleg toy artist who works out of Athens, Georgia. And he has made 3 unique bootleg action figure trophies for the 3 sickest and wrongest movies that are going to be judged by the Sick and Wrong Film Festival judges from 2020. So you're going to be competing for that. They're going to come in blister packages, just like action figures from when you're a kid. And the art on the blister packages is going to be, is already created by another incredibly talented artist named Kylie Markland, who she did all the art we had at Sick and Wrong 2020 this year. So you're going to get, you're competing for a unique trophy, which I think is kind of cool. I'm not even going to get to have one of these, which kind of bums me out. But also, I'm giving away pins to every team that completes their movie. Like, these challenge pins is going to be the only way to get one is to complete a movie for the debacle. I have these awesome little challenge pins designed again by Kylie. She's great. If you need weirdo art, please find Kylie Markland. She's awesome.
What is there's one more week to sign up. So what's the date?
Yes. The final date for signups, and you can sign up on this date, the final date for signups is November 26th, which is, at the moment, it's the Thursday after the day that I'm talking right now. So,
yes,
whenever you're listening to this, you have till Thursday.
Thursday coming.
It'll be Thursday.
Yes. Okay, that confused me a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, November 26th, that's it, November 26th.
Yeah, and then the event itself starts on the following Thursday.
December 3rd.
That's correct.
December
the
3rd.
kickoff event, which... if you're not a filmmaker or you can't participate and you just want to watch all this madness, you can do that for free. The kickoff event and the screening are both going to be free to everybody on the internet, or everybody on the planet. Everybody can watch this stuff for free. The kickoff event is going to start on December 3rd. And then the screening event of the completed movies is going to start on December 11th.
And so we have from December 3rd to 6th to make the movie. That's the 72 hours.
That's the 72 hours, correct.
Yeah. And then 1 week later, we all watch it.
And then 1 week later, we all watch them, and you're going to tell all your friends and family to come watch, and they can see what kind of perverse derangements you've dredged up.
Who is judging these?
So the judging is going to be done by. It's not me. It's not me.
This is
Sophia's
on the
interrogating. This is like
Yes.
This is very. I'm getting nervous.
What are their credentials? Where did they matriculate?
Where did they go to film school?
The judges are going to be the same judges I had at Sick and Wrong 2020, who are Ashley Stone, Logan Donahue, and Michael Beckemeyer.
I didn't need to know where they lived. I was just curious if you had a panel.
Well, Ashley used to live here, but she moved. So
So basically, we know where to send cash now.
great.
right. I'm sure they would all be delighted to accept some bribes.
So you have a panel. Are you judging on certain criteria?
We are. So if you are familiar with the Sick and Wrong Film Festival, you know that we give out a lot of awards generally. Well, I guess I say a lot, but there are some festivals that give out way more than we do. But anyway, we give out awards
Which is a good
for
plug.
things.
Hold on, we got to plug that Michael won the Weirdest Boner Award.
Weirdest Boner, which I want to say is the greatest award I've ever won.
Yeah,
and an entire year before when we had Halfcock there, which did not deserve the Weirdest Boner Award, but when Halfcock was playing at Sick and Wrong, I was like, we're not going to win the Weirdest Boner, but someday I want to win the Weirdest Boner Award because that is my dream.
Just 11 months later, you got your wish.
Just the next year.
Everything else is downhill.
My whole life has been fulfilled.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, no, our film Pride, which is part of the Seven Sins anthology, which is out by Darkside, releasing on Blu-ray if you wanted to check that out. But anyway, sorry, go back to what you were saying.
Oh yeah. No worries. So we give out, I say we all the time, and I think I might be giving a bad impression there. Most, except for the judging, which is, I guess it's stupid for me to bring this up because this is the part where more people are involved. Shut up. Jesus, get to your point. Okay. We give out awards for a lot of different stuff. Like we always give out an award for music. We give out an award for effects, performances, and things like that. But there's an award that we give out at the festival proper, called the Golden Tentacle, which is the award that we give out to the movie that is the best embodies the spirit of the festival, which is, if I had a catchphrase, if I had to give a sound bite, what Sick and Wrong is really all about is movies that are aggressively bizarre, right? So for the debacle, I don't want to go through. Everybody's working under different constraints. Some people have teams that they can work with. Some people have red Komodo cameras that they can shoot with. Some people are going to be shooting alone in front of a green curtain with a cell phone, and I don't want to start judging on too many different criteria. So the answer, after 40 minutes of me running my mouth, the answer to your question is that we're going to be judging the movies like we would be judging the Golden Tentacle. We're looking for movies that really embody, that really espouse the ethic of weirdness that we want for the festival. That's going to be the one criterion. Perfect. And they're not going to be ranked. Like we're not going to pick the number 1 movie, the number 2 movie, the number 3 movie. We're going to pick just the 3 movies that we think best embody that ethic. And again, I keep saying we, but it's the judges. I'm not involved. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be watching them, of course.
And how are you assigning? Are you randomizing the criteria?
I am with a special invention, another invention of mine.
It's not the movie Nader.
It's not the movie Nader. We'll get to it in a second.
Is M9000 available for licensing? Because I could use a random.
We'll talk about that later. For anybody listening, we'll get to what the M9000 is shortly.
I will be using a piece of archaic technology known as a D20. For
all of you, I've heard of it.
You've heard of it?
For the nerds.
Yeah, I'm going to be, for the nerds out there. I'm just going to be rolling dice. There are 6 moods and there are 20 plot elements. So I'm going to bring each team in and I'm going to roll a D20 and a D6. And I'm going to let them, if they want, I'm going to let them choose to reroll one of them once.
Ooh, okay.
So if you didn't want the plot point finding teeth in an unexpected place, I
definitely want that.
I do. Yeah.
Everybody wants. That's the big.
I want to re-roll my charisma. Is like the. Right?
Okay. Cool. All right. Anyway, well, I'm glad I asked that because that sounds exciting.
Yes, Detective Sophia has cracked the case.
I'm really good at interviewing, just so you know.
Dude, this is such a good interview. You guys don't even know. I'm interviewing the shit out of you. That's what's happening right now.
But no, the debacle sounds really fun. Have you ever done a 48 before?
I have performed in a 48 before. I had some friends of mine who are some horror filmmakers here in Orlando. They were doing a 48, and they asked me to come act as a backwoods hillbilly whose dog was actually an alien that had abducted him a few times, but then he had captured it.
And then you had to say the line, "I'd buy that for $1." Or something.
Buy that for $1. What was my line? I don't think I had the line. I think they gave the line to somebody else in the script. But I did get the props. So
cool.
There was a scene, and it was fun. It was kind of a nightmare because like I had this mouth prosthetic that hurt my teeth like for 2 weeks after I took it out. It just hurt so bad. But this is one of the things that bugs me. I'm not salty. I promise. 48's they're a great training ground for making
I actually
movies.
like the line that you have to jam in there somewhere. I think it's
You
kind
do
of
like
fun. Yeah, just because they're always so stupid. But yeah.
Our prop, we got assigned, or it's not we. I was just an actor. I wasn't important in that. It was the filmmakers, but they were assigned a prop, and so there's a scene where I'm like, it's a very familiar scene from horror movies where somebody looks over his tools, like the killer looks over his tools. There's some pliers, and there's a big butcher knife, and there's a whatever, and a whatever, and whatever, and then I pick up our prop. Fingernail clippers. And I was like, all right, doggy, I'm going to get you with these fingernail clippers. And I just felt kind of silly doing that.
Yeah.
We've done
We did five.
Five.
You might know that, like, especially Michael, but I always laugh and go along with it, is a prankster. So we started doing the Boston 48 hour, and then we did it as a band with our bandmates who aren't really filmmakers, but they're musicians. So we always had a lot of fun, like writing music and running around all weekend with our bandmates. So it was kind of like a weird team building exercise we would do with our bandmates that wasn't playing a show. But then every year we did it, we would still incorporate the previous year's plots and lines, not plots, but the lines and props and stuff. And we did that every year for 5 years. So by the fifth year, we had 5 lines, 5 props.
And 5 character names.
Yeah. And so we just kept doing it. And it was so ridiculous that they ended up having to give us an award.
They made a special award for like best retro. I think it was called like best retro line or something. So they basically just like knew that we were going to be, and we were always the thing that's interesting
we were the weirdest,
about the 48 is like the stuff that would win was like a drama about somebody being sad that they have to leave town. And it was like stuff that I mean.
What their judges were like the film critic from the Boston Globe. He didn't get what the fuck we were doing.
Right.
You know, like he didn't care.
But we had a lot of fun. I mean, we never cared about winning anyway.
But by the end, I think we won them over with our weirdness. But the fifth year, we won like a couple awards.
We would win a bunch of awards. But yeah, we made a series of films. Now I'm talking too much about our weird, but you can watch our 40. They're all on YouTube.
They're all on. Yeah.
But the first one, I don't know why. Somebody in our band, we were on tour, and she said something about crazy hands, and she yelled in Spanish. I don't know why this happened. Like I think it's actually backwards, but she yelled "Los locos manos," like the crazy hands. I think it should be Los Manos Locos. But I don't know Spanish, so whatever. So anyway,
Florida.
I don't know why we just decided to call the movie Los Locos Manos, and then
nobody ever corrected us either. And we know that we were wrong.
People told us. I mean, we knew.
I was like, nobody ever corrected me because every year we had a Spanish title just wrong.
But we knew right away. But every year we would do another loco.
No, I know
movie.
we knew. I'm just saying nobody ever corrected us.
And like so, the title would be like
it'd be like a body
loco
part.
Ojo.
Yeah.
Los Locos Dientes.
Yeah, I was a vampire dentist.
You were a vampire and the last one was El Loco Nihilismo. It was a fairy tale about nihilism.
Yeah.
So we would have qualified. We had drawn the fairy tale category. And we're like, we'll make a fairy tale about a guy looking for the meaning of life. Like he gets a letter that says like the meaning of life is, but the letter is torn at the bottom. And so then he's like, has to go on the quest, like a fairy tale quest to find the meaning of life. And then it turns out like that it's meaningless, which is the, nihilism. So it would have fit. It would have fit.
Absolutely.
We're going to resubmit that.
We're going to resubmit that to the
Well, people like to submit their 48s to film festivals, which is like very quaint.
Some of them are good. I mean, we've never done that.
There's just like no reason to submit your 48-hour film festival to a real festival, but like sometimes fests are nice and they program them.
Some of them are good. I've seen good ones before, occasionally.
I don't know. I think they're fun for 48 and like they're fun, whatever. Yeah. But should they live on?
And is that your goal with the 72 to give it a little more polish so that it could be something like
Well, my goal. One of the reasons I started that. Well, I don't know. I want to encourage. Okay, this is going to sound like a complete sidetrack, but I'll try to make it fast. In my conversations with sick and wrong filmmakers, one of the common threads that comes up is that they all have, generally, lots of them have professional industry jobs where they work in a post house or something like that, and they spend most of their day editing Wendy's commercials or putting color correcting scenes of cars driving through deserts or something like that, right? And it's all very like staid and very it's good work. They do good work. I'm not saying that, but anyway, my point is when I ask them about their Sick and Wrong movie, they say that it was something they made as like a tension release or like as a catharsis, you know, because they have such a very corporate, very rigid job, technically working in movies, but they just, what do? They're you know, prepping clips for broadcast or something like that, right? So they find that working on whatever movie ends up at the Sick and Wrong Film Festival is almost a therapeutic experience to get it out, you know? And I really like that idea, and I want to give people that opportunity. So, yes, I think the 72 hours is going to help with the polish. I think it's going to help make the movies maybe look a little bit better. But really, my goal in giving 72 hours is so that nobody feels like too stressed about it. I want it to be fun. I want the filmmakers to enjoy their experience working on whatever they do, even if it's just them sitting alone in their bathroom moving Lego figures around or something like that. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to really embrace the unleashed nature of the contest that I'm going for.
Yeah, we definitely, that was a big thing for us. With the first year we did the 48, we did not sleep at all. We were up, you know, the full 48 doing it. By the last one, we'd like the band would get together. We'd go out to brunch. We'd just hang out. Like we were so low key.
I think two things happened.
No, we just didn't care. I got better at editing.
For one, we got better at editing, and we got faster, and we got better as filmmakers. Yeah. And for two, we just kind of knew how to structure the thing to make it work in that time. Like, so we got used to the competition and we got used to filmmaking in that 5 years.
But we realized we didn't have to worry. It was just more fun. Because I mean, there's no stakes anyway for in that, you know, now with this, there's some stakes because there's awesome action
figures. You got prizes. Yeah.
But the 40, we did it for fun.
That was always the thing that annoyed me with the 48 hours. Like, obviously some films were shot like, or planned or half shot way before, and then they would just plug in like the elements.
And why do that? Yeah. It's not fun, you know?
And so
it's like, why cheat at solitaire, right?
Yeah.
Some people cheat at solitaire. He said with a meaningful glance at his partner Jennifer.
We're gonna have fun. I mean, we'll have fun making something, and I'm gonna definitely have extra fun watching like what everybody's made.
Yes.
Because that's just a cool surprise always to see how people creatively approach this kind of stuff. Which leads us into a collaborative project that we've been working on in terms of watching.
You been working on something?
I think so, allegedly.
See, I've been working on this thing where all the team members are like secretive and we don't know who's doing what.
Oh, is that true? I think we can reveal.
We can reveal a little bit.
Unilaterally saying that we can reveal a little bit. Is that okay?
We have been working on a thing.
We've been collaborating on a thing. And it's a kind of a quarantine project with a whole bunch of other filmmakers. So we've done a thing.
Like over 20, right? Like
it's close to 25. I think it's 24 or 25 filmmakers. Yeah. I think it actually is 25 based on recent additions. And it's basically done at this point, other than the post. So the production part is finished. And we can't say too much about it, but it's a project where individual filmakers received something from us.
The script would be the thing.
The script would be the thing that
they received a piece of a script.
Generated. The script was sent out by software that I wrote called the M9000. And,
based on the HAL.
Based on the HAL 9000.
Based on
and
a miraculous piece of software.
A really good software for
infallible
for sending information to people. And now we're just putting it together. And it's been a fun project because I think a lot of people have appreciated it because it gives them something to do when they can't make films, in normal context. Right. And we told them that they have to make it without any, resource spending money or doing anything. It's kind of a project where they have to do it. So I think it'll turn out fun. I'm
excited to see it. I'm looking forward to it. It's I certainly had fun making my segment.
Yeah, we shot a segment for it also.
We did. King Ghidorah is in it.
King Ghidorah is in it. There's a gun in it.
There's a gun and a dog.
A gun and a dog. Isn't that what was that?
Godard,
what was that filmmaker said?
Godard,
okay.
Yeah, I think Godard said all you need for out of his great movie or something. All you need for a movie is a gun and a dog. I believe he said.
A gun and a dog, exactly.
I think that's the exact quote.
I think you're gonna become like Mickey Rourke with his little dog. Like every time you get hired on a movie, you're like, I'm only taking it if I can put King Ghidorah in.
I'm into it.
Yes.
That's definitely.
Yes. Well, he'll definitely have a cameo in everything we do from now on, I think.
Speaking of cameos of King Ghidorah, we made a movie called Bloodhound that I don't think we plugged at all.
Oh, did we not plug it yet?
No.
Yeah, so
Have
Bloodhound.
you not plugged that movie?
No, I don't think so.
Well, because we kind of skipped over Halloween on our podcast.
Yeah, we made a documentary about getting King Ghidorah and our lives with him.
It's like a shockingly very true documentary. Like all like about his adoption and everything.
Yeah, he's very vulnerable. I'm surprised with the level of access you got to him. I mean,
well,
but it's also about how he's actually Dracula, just like stuck in this form of being an angry chihuahua.
Which is, metaphorically pretty true for him.
Yes. But it's like, it's the story of his adoption. It's like 3.5 minutes long. It's on YouTube and Amazon Prime. You can find it.
Yeah.
Bloodhound. We got an awesome voiceover artist to do King Ghidorah's voice.
Luke De Ayora.
And he's like a real professional voice actor. And just did a hilarious. I want to hire him for so we're kind of trying to plan to do like more King Ghidorah movies. Like the next one, we're gonna skip right to space for the sequel.
I've seen his little space outfit.
Could be for the debacle. Who knows?
So, maybe we make a space movie. Who knows?
Well, you're not writing yet, are you?
No. We haven't written.
No. Well, here's like
we haven't written a space movie yet.
The thematic setup for this. My thematic setup for the space movie is like that dogs have the claim to space because they were the first mammals to go to space, like before humans. So space belongs to the dogs.
Yeah.
That's the setup. Nothing has been written. But so I have the setup and I got him a space jacket. So.
Yeah. Do you remember the dog's name? Anyway,
Laika?
Yeah, Laika.
Laika. I can never remember the name. Yeah.
So one of the greatest things that we've ever seen in our entire lives is a exhibit. Maybe I'm exaggerating. There's a place here called
It affected me, I have to say.
When you come to LA, we'll go to the Museum of Jurassic Technology, which is
that sounds fantastic.
A museum that it's just
okay.
I can't
basically,
even
a
explain
hippie
it.
in the '70s did acid and was like, "I'm going to make a museum."
Kind of.
And then it still exists.
Yeah. Anyway, they have an exhibit at this museum called "The Most Perfect Creatures on Earth" or something.
The most heavenly creatures.
Something. The title's close to that, and it is oil painting portraits of the Soviet space dogs.
And it's like a dozen dogs that have been to space. And it's like portraits of each one.
Yeah. So it includes Laika. Laika is one of them. It's like a Stroika and I forgot their names. But
it's like a whole room of dog portraits.
And they sell little lockets there that have interchangeable like the dog portraits that you can put inside of them. So you can buy the locket and like the set of dog portraits.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's wonderful.
The only museum I visited in LA was the Museum of Death, and I think it's kind of like grown since I was there years ago, but that was less wholesome and fun.
Yeah, I can't go there because it's not. It's funny how we as people who make horror films and do all these kind of, you'd think we'd be into that kind of thing, but it's like it's not my kind of thing.
No, I mean, there's I'm sure this is another big conversation, but there's a very big difference between like fake corpses hanging from the walls with their entrails hanging out and like a pair of shoes from one of the dudes who actually killed himself for Heaven's Gate, right? There's something, there's like a weird kind of psychic weight to that is heavier than anything I've seen in a fictional movie,
That's the thing, like we're not into like true crime or like real serial killers, like I know like Midwestern like middle-aged moms like really love like true crime, but it's like for us like I don't want to know about an actual guy.
Ted Bundy is like, so dreamy.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I just don't like the glorification of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But which is funny, right? Again, you think like the kind of stuff we make.
I feel like people would probably think we're really into that stuff. Yeah. We're just not. Like,
but we're actually we're very sensitive to.
Which is why we make horror movies. Yeah. We're sensitive artists.
It is actually there's an interesting divide where I think half the people in horror films are like really sensitive, squeamish, like shy people, and the other half are just like basically sociopaths. But and it's the difference between the sick and wrong that you put on and the edgelord festival that I was, I can't name.
Imagine.
I'm not naming a specific one, but
I've been to that one.
Yeah, no,
sure.
I've definitely been there. But like, there's a big difference. It's like a binomial distribution. Like, there's a complete spread of the two things.
Yeah.
And
well, I feel like here's the difference is like on the sick and wrong page right here for the debacle, like the rules, like number 5 is like, don't be a dick and no hate speech. And like, don't violate Sick and Wrong Film Festival spirit of inclusion and diversity. So I think like that right there, like puts like that right is like the line in the sand. Like that's the difference. Like people like give a shit about other humans, like as we have to like function in the universe, and people who don't. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I guess I don't know. This has been a soapbox. So I don't know. I don't want to preach about it. But the thing is, my goal from the very beginning, before I ever had the first Sick and Wrong Film Festival, was I wanted it to be a place where filmmakers wanted to come. That was my first goal. I always wanted to have. I've been doing these little events for the filmmakers whenever the festival is live, and that's always the most important thing. And if you have, I don't know, some of these creepy fuckers that I've met at these edgelord festivals, not everybody's gonna be comfortable to be hanging around them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't even want to fuck with that stuff. Like I only want. Like, I want weird from everybody,
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, you see it in the programming. You see how many films are made by women. Like, you see that's not you've created an environment that's not exclusionary or off-putting to people who might be like the targets of really unpleasant kind of edgelord films in other contexts.
We have more work to do. That's for damn sure. But I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That warms my heart.
Right. Well, I think like you've done active outreach, especially for women filmmakers, and I think that's really important is for women to know that like we're wanted in a space because we're like. Men don't even realize like how boys clubby things get. But when we see that there are no women, we just assume we don't belong. And so like when something says like women are encouraged to send things or to apply to this, we're like, oh, okay. So like they actually want our perspective. So like, it's going to be a comfortable place to go. And I think it's still important to say that because otherwise, like we would probably be like, whatever, they don't want us,
Yeah. And if you were a woman looking at a space that was currently filled solely with men, then I certainly couldn't blame you for not wanting to go into that space.
Yeah. Right. That's true too.
This is one of the things, and I kind of don't even want to mention it because I don't want to sound like I'm patting myself on the back or anything like that. But every year I offer just a blanket submission discount for women filmmakers and filmmakers of color and LGBT filmmakers. And I should have been collecting them. I've been deleting them all this time, but I've had so many furious emails from angry white straight dudes who were never going to submit to the festival to begin with. But as soon as they see on Film Free or whatever that I'm offering this discount, they are livid. They are apoplectic with rage that I would dare not give them a benefit, right? Not give them a discount on their submission. And God, it's so disheartening.
No, it's great because it serves two purposes.
Yeah, it gets rid of those guys.
Encourages those filmmakers to apply, and then it keeps these filmmakers away from the
right.
You don't want them there.
Yeah.
I do not. I absolutely do not.
Yeah.
God, no.
So so in a way, it's a double win.
Yes.
I just wish they didn't feel like they had to email me. They could just never look at their stuff again, right? Like you don't have to submit. You could just move on with your life. How valueless is your time that you can stop and write a 2-page angry email about how this is reverse racism and reverse sexism?
Well, I think you know the answer to how valueless they're
they think that they like have internalized that their opinion matters at all. But because like through hundreds and hundreds of years, we've told straight white men that their opinion is like the best thing and like we should all be in awe of it. And so like the fact that you are confused and that you don't think you should value their opinion on this like enrages them so much that they have to shout it at you. I mean, we talked about it this week, but I see it all the time in groups, in like Facebook filmmaking groups. Like anytime somebody wants a woman for something, the men come in like, it's illegal to advertise that you want a woman to do this. And it's like, but it's the same thing we're talking about. Like, if I see that somebody wants a cinematographer who's a woman, I'm 100% more likely to apply because usually I just ignore it, like want ads and stuff. But like, oh, they want a woman, like maybe like that's something I want to do and people I want to be around.
Yeah.
So like I'm saying, you have to like say that you are actively encouraging still.
Right. It's not enough.
It's not an even playing ground yet.
Oh my God. In so many, like, I'm not going to out anybody, but like I'm in some film fest runners groups, and I've had people say in these groups with just totally straight faces, well, if women want to take up more of the program, they need to make better movies. And it's one of you get one of those things where, like, trying to explain to you why that's a stupid thing to say would take more time than I really just have available to me right now.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Well, like the world of independent filmmaking is like such a privileged space to work in. Like you have access to people and time and cameras and like submission fees. Like you already have so much privilege. So like, so you have to encourage the people that don't necessarily have all that stuff to like get their art out there. And that's going to be women, and it's going to be people of color that just don't have the same resources as like straight white dudes with like full-time jobs that like pay them a lot of money and then they can spend that on their movies,
that own the Komodo, the red Komodo.
The red Komodo.
So it's like, so you either have only movies from that like perspective, or you try to open it up and make it more democratic. It's just like,
Well, you've done a good job, and you've set off on the right path on that. So thank you for doing that.
I appreciate that.
And I think that hopefully we'll see that continue. And
anyway, as long as I'm doing it, I'm going to be offering those discounts, and I want to be as welcoming as possible to everybody. Sick and Wrong is a space for weirdos and anybody who feels like their stuff doesn't belong anywhere. And that statement right there is not tailor-made for white dudes. It's really not. Like it's ridiculous to think that they're whatever. God, now I'm getting all whatever. Anyway, my point is I want to be welcoming, and please submit your stuff to Sick and Wrong next year. Everybody who's got something off kilter that hasn't been able to find a home, Sick and Wrong might be your place. And in the short term, sign up for the debacle.
Yeah.
Or watch it. One of the two.
Absolutely. And keep your eyes peeled for our future project. I guess we can say.
Yeah, are you going to say the title?
I think
you
we can
might
say it's
as
called
well.
The Transformations of the Doctors Jenkins.
Yes.
It's all plural in there. The Transformations of the Doctors Jenkins. Yes.
Yeah. So that'll be, I don't know, who knows when that'll be coming, but now, if you're listening, you'll hear, I think we might have more guests on the podcast who are involved in that. So we might learn a little
more. A large pool
to
draw from.
A little more each week.
Yes.
Yeah. But so that's cool. Jerry Show's on Amazon. Definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Just a few days left to sign up for the debacle. You have until the 26th.
And I think does that cover everything? Is there anything else you want to plug? Give us a website.
Well, sickandwrongfilm.com. Sickandwrongfilm.com is where you want to go if you want to sign up. That's the source for everything. But find us on social media. Sick and Wrong is on Instagram and on Facebook. And that is where the prompts are. If you're on the fence right now, you're thinking, I want to make a movie, but I don't know if I want to make a romantic comedy with a gorilla suit for a prop. Well, go check out the prompts. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram right now. You can see them, and you can know right away, yes, this is for me, or no, this is absolutely not for me.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty open. And I think like if you're looking at something called Sick and Wrong, you're already starting in the right place. Like if that appeals to you, you kind of you know what you're in for. And I think it'll be fun. I mean, like I said, we're participating, and I really look forward to seeing what other people do. I hope I'm sabotaging our own success
by inviting
more people. But I would rather lose than and see more exciting
stuff.
people involved in it. So,
Same. Like, I'm really excited, and even more so if I understand it can be tough if you're a filmmaker. It can be tough to do things right now, and I understand that. So I just want to push the fact that the kickoff event and the screening are going to be free to everybody. I want everybody to enjoy these. The movies are only going to screen the once, and then they're going to go back to the filmmakers' hands to do with whatever they want. So please watch at that time. But all the hub for everything is on sickandwrongfilm.com.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, I'm sorry. Was there something else you wanted to plug or anything?
I have a lot of pictures of my cat sitting on my feet on Instagram.
All right. So if you have a cat feet fetish,
You have a tailless cat feet fetish.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a tail.
Gandalf the Grey.
Gandalf the Grey. I'm talking about you, asshole.
But anyway, thanks so much for being on. We really,
thanks. This was fun.
Really
I've enjoyed this.
Awesome.
My enjoyment ends now.
All right. Well, tune in next time for somebody else to have some enjoyment. Stephen's all out. So thanks.
I'm done.
Bye-bye.
Bye.